Hey everybody, this is Khara Brindle
and Christina Murphy.
We are the co-founders and co-authors of the Empowerment Model of Clinical Supervision.
Yay! Yay, yes!
So Christina, I asked her to come on to our Stellar Supervision series, which all of you have been following, all of the amazing supervisors we've had on the series so far. Christina is one of them, of course.
Yes.
Because we're going to talk about why, but how about you introduce yourself to folks who don't know you?
Yeah, so I'm Christina Murphy, and I, co-authored the book with Khara. I'm also a clinical supervisor here in Colorado, and I'm also the owner of Life's Hope Therapeutic Services, and yeah. So
why is supervision important to you? Because I always ask all of our guests that come on.
It goes back to that gatekeeping piece, right? Is feeling really responsible, wanting to put out, counselors who are responsible, who have all the tools that they need. And I feel like that's how I can impact my profession and also impact clients. If we have really competent and really reliable leaders, then that's how I feel I can contribute, is by providing really solid supervision. And I also want to just make sure I'm contributing to counseling as a whole, not just by being a counselor, and this is how I do it.
So how to shape the field, really.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, I know I asked you to come on because of this awesome thing we're actually going to include in our second edition of the book with Christina's permission, because this is her idea. So I wanted you to share your 90-minute supervision model. So for a lot of you, how do we fit it all in? Well, Christina has a foundational, what's the thing I'm trying to say here? A structure that will help you do this.
Well, and I know it's going to freak everybody out, so hear me out. Because 90 minutes, you're like, oh my gosh, we already don't have enough time. So I don't want you to freak out. So I started, I supervised a long time, for many years before I was a CEO of a nonprofit. And then I had to stop supervising, direct care workers for a while. And then when so I took a lot of different leadership trainings and a lot of different leadership, just overall mentors, things like that. And during my time, just learning those different leadership skills and being a CEO, these ideas started coming up, and I started, just mulling things over. And then when I, retired as a CEO, I then started, becoming a clinical supervisor again, and started to see more patterns, right? More this narrative of supervision started to come out, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we need 90 minutes. Now this isn't weekly. I do it bi-weekly. And so basically you meet with your supervisee for 90 minutes, but there's things that you specifically do with your supervisee. And so there's three people essentially in the room. There is the clinical supervisor, there is the supervisee, and you're like, who in the world is the third person, right? Well, it's the organization, or it's the private practice. It's the interest of the practice or the organization. So their interests are also in the room. And I think as clinical supervisors, we forget about that. And supervisees often forget about that. And so this supervision 90 minutes allows you to bring all three interests in the room without taking away the needs of the supervisee and the supervisor. So that's the core of it. So making sure you're getting all those needs met, but also looking at criticals, looking at the unit hours if you need to track unit hours, getting the administrative needs met. And then also just what we really want to do is also build the professional development of the supervisee. And you need 90 minutes to do it.
So to fit it all in. So you're saying that it's basically covering the development of the counselor, any critical incidences, the admin stuff, which could be paperwork, signing off on the hours, all those things. And then, of course, the professional development might also be part of the agency or practice, saying, hey, what trainings are you taking? Are you staying in compliance with your licensure? That kind of thing. Right.
And also units, right? Did you mention units?
I don't think I did.
Yes. And so, let's face it, the organization or the private practice often needs the counselor to meet a certain units every week. And so we need to be tracking that as clinical supervisors or as a practice owner. And so that also comes into play. So that's making sure that the counselor is meeting those units as well, but it's not the, it's not a large focus. It's just a small piece of it.
Right.
And so that's what this 90-minute includes. So you're still meeting the needs of Dora because it requires about 3 hours a month, which is that 90 minutes, an hour and a half every couple weeks. And then, but then you're also meeting the needs of the supervisee, the supervisor, and the organization or the private practice,
right.
which you need to care for all of them.
Absolutely. So for folks who are considering a 90-minute model, what would they need to recognize in themselves or in the supervision they're doing now to say, oh, I really need this model, I need 90 minutes?
I would start out by asking yourself and your supervisees, do they feel like they're getting out of their supervision what they need? Are you mostly concentrating on administrative supervision? Are you mostly just concentrating on just the needs of the clients? Are you growing your therapists or your counselors professionally? If you're not hitting all those pieces, that means that you need that extra that extra time, and you need the structure. My 90-minute supervision actually has a very specific structure that you need to follow, and that's what makes it magical, is you follow a structure and you stay on task, and that helps you stay on task, that makes the supervisee stay on task, and then that way the two of you get through it quicker.
Yeah.
But everybody's happy in the end.
Right, so very productive. It's streamlining their process so that they don't get stuck on, oh, we just did admin for 90 minutes.
Yes.
Which is not the fun part for a lot of us as supervisors. We'd much rather do client cases and talk about the clinical work. So obviously I alluded to, this is going to be something that Christina shares in our book, our second edition of the Empowerment Model of Clinical Supervision, coming out next year, so that you can see the exact framework that she's alluding to. But if you have questions for her in the meantime, how can they reach you?
Right now, I'm getting my website redone, so I'm not going to send you to my website because then you'll get frustrated. So really, it's just Christina@lifeshope.net. If you want to get with me and talk about this beforehand, it's Christina, CHRISTINA @lifeshope.net.
Perfect. Yeah, because I know a lot of people who are going to see this video might be like, I want to implement this right away. So if you're not wanting to wait until our second edition, which I do encourage you to wait and get that book, because we're going to do lots of new things in the book, second edition. We're working on that today. But in the meantime, reach out to Christina and learn more about that 90-minute model.
Sounds wonderful.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
See
Bye.
you next time.